Alrighty guys, hello and welcome back to the show. Today, cast on the cards, it is a 5v5 going down on Adaptive Bonheur, which sounds like an incredibly sophisticated map. Let's go ahead and get into introducing our players. We're going to call this Team 1 up at the top, this Team 2 down at the bottom. And we'll start with the rear guard air position. We have Solid Snake, who's going UEF opening first air in the air position. Starting from the south and working our way north, we have Null Pointer, who's going Seraphim opening T1 land. And then we've got Mortagua. Sounds like more water and just with like some extra consonants thrown in. And he's going Cybrin opening first land. No factory adjacency. Interesting. Next, we've got Chaotic Martini. That sounds good. I do like a good martini. I enjoy the dirty vodka variety. So you get some nice little Tito's vodka, throw a bunch of olive juice in there, and then you get some blue cheese, stuffed olives. It's just mwah, chef's kiss. Beautiful. I love it. Next, let's move to the far northern player. We have Rich, who is playing as Cybrin, going first land. Shifting to team number 2, starting with the rear guard air position, we have Grumpy Swede. I think he meant Grumpy Swede. I don't know. Maybe that's is that how you spell Swede? Again, idiot American. I talk about this all the time. Idiot American. I'd like to think that I know a little bit more than some of the people that pop up on those news segments where Americans can't name a single country anywhere in the world. I can point at a map and tell you where the United States is, as well as like, I don't know, 50 other countries. But starting at the south, we have Scotty Woodsy, who's going Cybrin, and maybe we'll see some teleporter from him in the future. I'm not spoiling the game or anything, but hopefully that'll give me the opportunity to say, beam me up, Scotty! Beam me up, Scotty. Because I've been wanting to say that, like, ever since I started casting, and this is a perfect opportunity. He's got the right faction, he's playing as with the right nickname, and it's just, it would be an opportunity wasted. So next, we've got Immortal D, who's going Aeon, and he's already at the middle. He opened first land, got his Hydro up, getting his second land factory up. Continuing to the north, we've got Echion 90s. I'm sure that's some name in some language. Again, idiot American, who's going Seraphim opening first land. And last but not least, towards the middle, working on a land factory array around this mix, we have Nom AD, which maybe it's a play on Latin. What is it? Et spiriti, et filii, in nomine patri, et spiritu sancti, something like that. I can't remember. I'm not Catholic, so I don't remember. But either way, I do know that AD stands for Anno Domini, in the year of our Lord, and maybe that's what he's going for there. He's the Lord of FAF today. So talking about ratings here, so we got a bomber coming out from. Solid Snake, looking to do some harassment. Almost everybody below that 1,000 rating. So this is a little bit more of a, I guess you could call it a lower skilled game. Although, you know, since I've started playing 800s and 900s, they can actually play like really well now. So as far as people that I've played with in this game, as the bomber is coming in now, not sure what its target is, and I don't want to switch the camera because that would be way too much work. But looks like the bomber's actually coming back around on these engineers, and ba-boom, one engineer killed. Energy storage denied. You can call that a win as the Sky Slammer comes off the line, and that's going to be the end of that bomber. Actually, we'll see if I think he's going after the radar. Does get the radar, so engineer and radar, not the most productive, definitely not the least productive as far as bombing runs go. But anyway, I have very little familiarity with anybody in this game, with the exception of Immortal D. He's a super chill dude. He's part of like a clan that is has a lot of players around the kind of 800 to 1200 range, and they're really nice, really inviting. So anyway, I played with him. He's a super chill dude, like him. Didn't know he was actually in this game until I loaded it up. This was a game that was suggested on the FAF replays to cast channel in Discord. So if you've got replays that you want to see casted, that's going to be the best place to do it, as we've got a nice little run by here coming out from Scotty Woodsy, who apparently just beamed some Mantis into the back line there. is causing some problems there for Null Pointer. Null Pointer got 2-3 land, is making bombers though as well. And they're going to bag an engineer. Also has the T2 mechs. That bomber should be able to take out that last mantis. And would you look at that? It's like I can tell the future or something. It's like I can see the bomb materializing out of thin air from the bottom of this bomber. Because that's kind of how these things work. These things aren't loaded with ordnance or anything. Not how the world works. Just like that, how you shouldn't finish factories in real life. That's not how the world works. You want to get it to about 90... What would that be? 3,500? That'd be over 90%. You want to get to over 90%, nearly done, and then just stop. As we've got several tanks and Zuis running into Chaotic Martini's commander. Definitely going for the shaken, not stirred variety and looking to shake some things up here on this particular lane of the map. Commander position. Pretty much everybody's moved their commanders forward. Air players have kept their commanders in their bases, as we can see, which is good. And bomber from Null Pointer not going to get a whole lot done. This bomber is going to get a couple of T1 units, but all these are going to get shot down by the mobile AA in the various armies. Gun speed and range on the way for Null Pointer. And actually we've got Echion going for static AA at the front line as well. Maybe not the worst idea. Gun range now coming in for Nom AD. And lots of people going for comm upgrades at 6 minutes into the game. And I've seen no comm on comm action at this point. But this is a lower skilled game, which is to be expected. There's a lot of times whenever I've had gone into comm on comm engagements at 3-4 minutes in and realized that that was probably not the best thing to do, as gun speed now kicks off for Nom AD and gun range kicking off for Immortal D. So both those guys playing Aeon, so having those split gun upgrades. Doesn't cost any more than going for the consolidated gun speed and range. Downside on the Aeon though is if you're going gun upgrade, you really got to commit to it, because there's not a whole lot you can do. Aeon and Cybran are kind of in the same vein there, where you've got your gun upgrade is really kind of the only thing you can do early game. And on Aeon, you can really only go for chrono dampeners. Cybran, you can't really do much of anything outside of stealth. Cybran just has a not great comm upgrade suite, I feel like, for early game. So I'm dogging on Cybran here, as Echion actually, these bombers going kind of uncontested at this point. They are going to bag a mechs there from Chaotic Martini's base and kill the associated storage, going straight in for blood there. And talking about for blood, that's going to be an engineer going down as well. This bomber's getting a good amount of work done, as one now, I thought I was going to peel off and go for Rich's base. But Rich is rolling in it up there. No opposition. He's got some great templates set up with energy adjacency around his factories. You love to see it. I like having energy adjacency on my factories, all my factories. I don't know. Some people say that it's stupid and it's a waste of time and resources, but I like it. As engagement kicks off now between Nom AD and Rich. Nom AD with that gun commander, Rich's commander nowhere to be seen, but Nom AD not with nearly as many units in the vicinity. Even still, with a couple of good overcharges, he should be able to get out of this just fine. He's gonna get out of this just fine. He's gonna get out of it just fine. Everything's fine. Yep, see, everything's fine. Got reinforcements coming in now from Echion. And see, everything is fine. He only lost about half of his HP. Does get a nice rank of veterancy, though. Does have overcharge as well now. Start to see some of those larger bolts coming out. And a similar push going on down bottom, as we've got Scotty Woodsy pushing in on Null Pointer. Null Pointer also with gun range, and similarly, Scotty Woodsy's commander nowhere to be found. Although, you know whose commander is here and is semi in trouble is Immortal D, because as soon as Scotty Woodsy's T1 is cleaned up here. No pointer is going to be able to just move in on Immortal D, right? Right. There we go. Even some Shift G action. Look at that. And Immortal D is actually going to be our first ejection from this game. Right? Yes. I knew no pointer wouldn't make a liar out of me. So that's going to be our first ejection. Full share is not enabled, so that is going to be a vacant lane now for team number 2. They are going to have to fill with wood filler or whatever it is that you fill a vacant lane with in Fortune Alliance Forever. It's probably going to be putty, you know, because I'm thinking that if this is a wall, and if you think about this as drywall, because it doesn't take a whole lot to punch through at any particular point. If this is a wall and it's drywall, you would want to use whatever putty or drywall filler. What's it called? Spackling paste, I think. I don't know. I'm a great homeowner, as you can tell. Only reason I know what this is because literally after my wife and I bought this house, as Nam AD just kind of navigates these T1 units, he'll be just fine. Does have an Oblivion turret back here. But back to more important things. Only reason I know what spackling paste is, or whatever that wood repair thing is, this is a great story. This is literally like 3 hours after my wife and I had finished moving into this house, and we wanted to wall mount this TV, and it was an older TV. The thing weighed, I think, like 85 pounds or something like that. So my dad and I were hanging it, we were using drywall anchors, and this 80-pound TV weighs 80 pounds, right? And anyway, we used 4 different drywall anchors, or 4 of the same drywall anchors to mount the bracket to the wall, and they were all 50-pound mounts. So you think 50 times 4 equals 200. And so I was like, yeah, 200 pounds? It should definitely be able to handle an 85-pound TV. So we get the thing hung. We get the thing hung. That's the appropriate way to speak English. Again, idiot American. And me, my dad, my stepmom, and my wife, we're all just sitting on the couch admiring our good work. It's the first thing that we've hung in our house. It looks great. It looks clean. Folds right into the wall. There's no cables or anything because we had specifically wired everything so that there wouldn't be any cables hanging down. So we admire it. And then we started talking. We started talking about random things, and I started hearing this like rustling sound. I was like, oh my gosh, do we have rats in our brand new house? And lo and behold, like 2 minutes later, I see this huge crack go spiking up the wall right above our TV, and the TV just peels itself loose from the wall and slams into the floor. And that was a fun drywall repair. And no, I am never mounting a TV on the wall ever again in my life after that. The TV was not okay, in case you were asking. The TV was toast. The wall was toast. The TV was toast. My dad and my stepmom just kind of looked at me and my wife and were like, "Okay, well, you guys have a great night. We're gonna go do something else right now." And then my wife and I like started crying. I think I actually bought a new TV that night. There was like a Super Bowl sale or something like that going on, so ended up going and buying a new TV that night. Anyway, talking about the game, because that story took a while, but talking about the game here, so static lines have been kind of drawn here. We do have the rearguard air position, Grumpy Swede, semi-filling in for the recently vacated position of Immortal Swede. And elsewhere, everybody is setting up T2 static point defense, which is kind of what you see in these games at this skill level, and it's really hard to come into this game as a new player and not think, wow, all of these defenses are awesome. Because if you take like Supreme Commander and compare it against Age of Empires 2 or something like that, Age of Empires 2 has a watchtower that shoots like 1 arrow and a castle that shoots like a couple of arrows, and they're all pretty expensive. As a strat comes out, holy crap, solid snake. But either way, strat's hovering, it's fine. We'll keep an eye on it on the mini-map. But it's hard to not get enamored with how sexy these things look. Like, it's great models, they have great animations. Strat's moving. All right, Strat's moving in. It's going after factories. Whoa. That's actually a pretty good. It's actually a pretty good thing to hit. That's a lot of mass that was just leveled. Actually, more than a T2 mechs, which is usually what you would go after with strats. But so we've got 4 factories of T2 2 T2 mexes bagged from this strat. Make that 3 T2 mexes now. ASF in hot pursuit as they go off the edge of the map. Can't see health, but we can see them duking it out. It's going to be 4 T2 mexes, and the strat is going to go down now, so that's all in all, that's a pretty good strat run, if I do say so myself. But yeah, as to what I was saying, it's hard in this game whenever you come in and you see so many like really sexy defense options. Like you got T2 artillery, you got T2 point defense, UEF have tech 3 point defense, and they all are like really, really good at dealing with units. Like look at these Ultashalas dealing with these T1 units as soon as they stop arguing with the ground. But you can also look at these Cerberus turrets. It's really hard as a new player to come into this game and think I shouldn't just turtle up. It's actually not a great move though. As we've got Eshion now under pressure. Soundtrack to this push. I'm fucking all over the place on this cast. Been a lot of my casts recently. As now we've got Nam AD under pressure as well up at the top. Several T1 point defenses. Those are going to get lasered down though by the Mantis that are passing. T1 units also being scrambled to help. And I think this push is going to peter out after the T1 units show up on the scene. Even the labs. You shouldn't be making labs at this point in the game. Come on, guy. That's whenever this guy says, I'm not your guy, friend. That's whenever I respond in the comments and say, I'm not your friend, pal. Nano repair and gun splash. Holy crap, coming in for 0.7 as well. Tech 3 on the way for Scotty Woodsy. The middle continuing to get pushed. And that push actually did not peter out, probably due to the number of labs that are in the mix here for Nam AD. Players are good, but you know, they're just, the labs are not as, players are I think the best lab if I'm remembering correctly, but they're just not as good at dealing with large amounts of T1 units. It's that same kind of thing. Like if you think of players as like tech 0.5, as Eshion now just kind of standing still and taking it like a man. To be fair, he does have way more sturdy cojones than I do. I would have been running tail but tucked between my legs. Does have some tech 2 point defense to fall back on, and this is largely T1. And yeah, he should be just fine. He's got several Utashalas in the vicinity, as well as Nam AD's commander coming in from the north. Yeah, so that Tech 1 push not really going to go anywhere, as we have a ton of Vipers as well from Rich coming in, shelling the external land factories for Nam AD, who is still, really all of these players are still producing Tech 1 units. And a lot of them seem to be very enamored with labs, and I can't help but take semi-responsibility for some of this because of the cast that I uploaded where the dude just flooded labs and won the game. But the difference is the dude in that cast, the Horde or whoever he actually is, because he was obviously a Smurf, had literally 23 factories flooding the map with labs. And if we look at Nam AD, he's got 1, 2, 3. Mouse is doing weird things. 4, actually on the way to T3. Not a T2 unit in sight for him, just going straight for T3. So yeah, you can't, with 3 land factories, you cannot do the lab flood kind of thing. And then similarly here for Mortagua, you know, he's got 5 land factories here, a 6th, and then a 7th. But these are T2 land factories. You can't do the lab spam on 5 land factories. You gotta have like 30 plus, especially on this map where things are really, really choked off. Like, you're gonna need a lot more labs just because you don't have as much room to maneuver this gigantic horde. as Nam AD with shield and gun pushing in against the T2 combined T1 and Tech 2 forces there for Rich, as the Rhinos now open up along with the T1 units and the Vipers in the background. And the Rhinos should absolutely cut these Auroras to ribbons. Auroras don't really stack up well against other T1 units in a stand-up fight, much less T2. And that in combination with the lovely cocktail coming in from Chaotic Martini from the west is going to force Nam AD off of this front line. He's going to lose a lot of his T1 units as well. Still does have his commander engaged though, throwing out the occasional overcharge such as energy permits, and is actually going to bag a lot of these Rhinos. And that is one thing that I think often gets overlooked is people go for T2, they get a T2 army, and they kind of think, aha, you've activated my trap card. I now win the game. But the commander and overcharge, especially gun comm, if you have sufficient energy generation, which he definitely does, he's going for a GC, Jesus Christ, is extremely potent at dealing with Tech 2 units. Like it is very difficult to push a gun commander, especially with a shield and overcharge with Tech 2 units. Like you need a lot of Tech 2 units in order to make that worth it at all. I'm probably missing things in this game. There's a couple things that I wanted to talk about that I wrote down as talking points, so I'm okay with that. As you can see, Overcharge also working some magic over here for Null Pointer. Nano, oh man, he's got Gun Splash too. That wasn't even Overcharge. I think that's just his regular shots that are doing that. Look at that splash. I would hazard to say there is nothing in this lane that can stop Null Pointer right now, as long as he uses his commander correctly and attacks the point defense. Don't run away. What are you doing, man? You're killing me. You're killing me, man. You had to commit, I think. Commit. You had to commit. Look, you've got plenty of Ilshivas in this mix. Ilshivas are going to mop this up. You've got Scotty Woodsy down here with T3 on his commander. No gun. Don't get your commander back. Oh. Blue balls are real, man. I'm getting fucking destroyed over here. This video is 100% demonetized for so many different reasons. Alright, Scotty Woodsy. Now, into the yellow, 9k HP. He does not have enough Rhinos here. Does get a vet. This is what I mean, though. With Overcharge, do need a lot of units, but it is 1000% possible. Actually, Scotty didn't have gun upgrade. Unfortunately, I don't get to say beam me up, Scotty, but I'm just gonna keep saying it because, you know, I'm me. So that brings us to 3 against 5, with Team 2 losing 2 of their lower rated players. They had 3 800s, a 900, and a 1000. 1000's playing air, so that was 2 of their 800 level players that have been taken out. We have Tech 3 Air now on the field for both air players, as Grumpy Swedes really getting pissed off about the fact that Solid Snake has any semblance of an air force, and has decided to put both military and economic sanctions on him, and he is no longer allowed to build or have or field an air force of that size. But being that Solid Snake is the rebel that he is continuing to expand his air grid, is actually replenishing his fighter forces very quickly. And there is a decent air grid there for Grumpy Swede. Grumpy Swede actually focusing, though, on a Monkey Lord instead of expanding his air grid. So that's 4, 5 Tech 3 land factor or Tech 3 air factories, sorry. And for Solid Snake, we've got 4, 5, 6, 7 coming up right now. So you have to give the advantage for Solid Snake there in the long run of the game. And we can also look at just total mass accrued, reclaim-wise, favoring Solid Snake. Although overall eco, 312 eco coming in for Grumpy Swede. Grumpy Swede on a lot of T3 mexes. Even the ones that were in Immortal D's core base. 2 of them now. 3 of them now. Tech 3. Jeez. Focusing a ton on eco. And even though Team 2, I haven't talked about eco, but even though Team 2 is down by 2 players, they're up by 30% eco, which is nuts. Team 1 definitely need to potentially take the foot off the gas here with the units. Like, shut all these down. Shut all these factories down and upgrade your T1 mexes. And for the love of God, what is this mex or this mass storage placement? This is an automated hotkey, sir. These are not things that you need to manually place. You just right click on a Tech 2 mex. Although you're ringing Tech 1 mass extractors. I don't think it needs to be said. Don't ring Tech 1 mass extractors. Upgrade them to Tech 2. Upgrade them to Tech 2. As more T1 units getting thrown into the meat grinder. As far as reclaim goes, Eshion has a veritable gold mine on his doorstep. 15,000 reclaim in relatively safe reclaim distance. He could easily task a couple of these factories, or just one of these factories, to do reclaim engineers. Literally all you need to do is, for those of you guys that might not know, we'll see if this works, but you select an engineer, and then if you do Alt, you can actually drag a... If you do Alt, you can do a attack move order out of the factory, and then any engineer that goes to this rally point, say like right here, it'll reclaim everything within a huge area around it. It's a great way to get efficient reclaim. He's got the factory infrastructure to do it. He just needs to task some engineers to do it. As we now have an air engagement kicking off. Corona's going after some whalers there for Grumpy Swede. And Grumpy Swede going to lose all of his gunships. I'm not really sure what those gunships were going after. They might have been trying to go around the outside, around the outside, around the outside. But got picked up on radar and were pretty much cut to ribbons by the Corona. And remember, we have Solid Snake has superior air production capacity over Grumpy Swede. Grumpy Swede throwing a ton of mass into eco right now. And we'll see how that mass actually ends up translating for him later in the game. He does finish a Monkey Lord, but he just doesn't necessarily have the production capacity. Holy shit. Okay, that's where that mass is going to go. But he doesn't necessarily have the production capacity to slug it out in a lot of air engagements and throw gunships away like that. As the GC now complete, therefore Nam AD, who, if you saw in the chat earlier, is very confident in his ability to play this game. I was watching some of his chats. I was like, wow, dude, you really have a lot of confidence in yourself. Which is good. To an extent. As the Monkey Lord now has, I believe, been gifted over to Eshion, so good teamwork going there for team number 2. Monkey Lord going to be spearheading this assault, flanked by Ilshiva's mobile missile launchers, as well as some assorted Tech 1 spam. Gonna grab a Tech 2 power generator, going to roll over all of these Tech 2 point defenses. This is why you should not be investing this much in point defense without kind of a good reason here. Because this monkey has kind of just walked through all of these defenses and is smiling and waving and feeling good about himself. So now kind of the answer is more Tech 1 point defenses back here for Mortagua, and Tech 1 bomber spam now coming out from Null Pointer, which is good. Tech 1 bomber spam is actually a relatively good strategy as long as you have enough production for it. I'd like to see Solid Snake maybe spamming out some Tech 1 bombers, because he has enough ASFs to clean this up. So then he'd be able to spit out, 30 or 40 T1 bombers. That'd be rough for the Monkey Lord. I don't think there's any flak in this mixture. Meanwhile, up top, Galactic Colossus with 2 Harbingers pushing for Nam AD. Which is just it's an interesting push. Oh my god. If he killed that Tech 2 power generator, do you know how many units would have gone up? This whole swath right here, just poof. Deleted from existence. Right now the GC, though, is going to kill them all one by one. So we can get like some nice cinematic shots of the Pacific Rim Jaeger before Pacific Rim Jaegers existed. Going to work on these T2 units. I am convinced that the I can't remember what the Jaeger was called in the first Pacific Rim, but the one with 3 arms was piloted by triplets. I think it was 100% modeled after the Galactic Colossus. It's like the head and everything. It looks almost exactly the same. Spectres coming in over the top. Looks like there's flak somewhere. I saw a lot of those Spectres die. Not sure why those Spectres are... Oh, okay. Nope, that's not it. Oh, there's a Redeemer back here. That's what's doing it. This Tech 2 power generator could have killed so much with its explosion, but it didn't. And alas, we were all very sad because we wanted to see units go pop. Not sure what's happening with the GC right now. But Nam AD is screaming for air to help him right now. And yeah, his commander is getting hit by some gunships. I think it's going to be okay, bud. There's a good amount of flak. Strat comes in. Strat gets picked off by the ASFs, and yeah, everything else is just going to be hunky-dory outside of Grumpy Swede losing his Air Force. It's not great. Meanwhile, back with the GC. GC is going to deposit a nice little mass donation there. So in that scenario, because the last time we checked in on the GC before we went to look at the comm, GC had like, I don't know, 5,000-10,000 health. Just bring that bad boy back. Control K it in your base, reclaim it. If you're building another one, you could use the mass for that. It's going to be a little bit more worth it. As we now have a GC coming in for Solid Snake. Solid Snake's going to run into that Monkey Lord. We're going to see the classic laser beam standoff here. I'm not quite sure why the GC is having targeting issues. That's happened multiple times in this game. But the GC is actually going to lose to the Monkey Lord due to all of the support that the Monkey Lord had from the Tech 2 point defense as well as the assorted Tech 1 and Tech 2 units that are on the field. Hate to see it, but can't send experimentals in alone like that. We now have a Tech 2 mechs on the field here for Chaotic Martini. Definitely needs to just shut all these factories down and focus on upgrading mechs. Oh, he's upgrading the ones that are further away from his base. And I think you can Control K that one and rebuild it. I think that one was Tech 2 before. Not quite sure what happened there. Now we'll check in on our Scathus, which is not being worked on, but it is at... Oh, no, it is being worked on. It's being worked on by some hives. So every now and then, Grumpy Swede's throwing a little bit of eco onto that Scathus. That is playing for the long game, although he has a ton of eco. Definitely could expand out his air grid or put some of these factories to work. Then focus on the Scathus. There we go. Now the Scathus is starting to move. He's got 340 eco. That's so good. 32 minutes into the game. That's really good. Way better than my eco 32 minutes into the game. Just needs to be better at using it, which is fair. Like, players, I think players either go one of two ways. They either swing really hard for the unit management aspect of this game, which is kind of where I tend to go, or they swing really hard to the eco aspect and end up over ecoing. Which tends to happen. I don't think there is anything though on team number 1 that can even remotely deal with the Scathus. So they do have a lot of reclaim here. It is secured by Harbs, but there's some bricks on the field. So reclaim in this area, 24,000, give or take. Which is not an insignificant sum for them to work with. Although now we're starting to see that eco advantage from team number 2 start to kick into gear. Although it has narrowed, so they're at roughly 90k difference between the two teams. But just overall experimental counts, Team 2 seems to be much more comfortable pushing experimentals out. As you're seeing this Galactic Colossus now route a group of Tech 1 and Tech 2 units on the southern side of the map there for Null Pointer. Apologies if you can hear my dog try to dig a hole through my carpet. I don't think there's any flak in this mix. I'm not quite sure why they ran away. Because Solid Snake definitely has the air advantage. It needs to start pushing that air advantage, I think, a little bit more. Because Grumpy Swede has really taken his foot off the gas as far as air production goes. And we'll take a quick look. Grab an ASF here. So we got 11 ASF on the field for Solid Snake. And I don't need to count this to tell you that it's a lot more. It's 68. One short of being a really, really cool number. Let's just check it. 69. Nice. All right. Yeah, so Solid Snake needs to start pushing this air advantage here. And there's not even really like a whole lot of static AA that I'm seeing in these bases either. I think there's a T3 static there. And not really any other T3 static. As far as snipeable comms, you don't want to. I don't think you want to go after Nam AD because he's got the shield. What is? So Eshion does have nano, so that's. I mean, it's not an ideal target either. But Grumpy Swede only has Tech 3. Like this is your money shot right here, and he does have the Scathus, which hasn't been scouted yet. They have not scouted the Scathus yet. That is another huge problem. Rich's commander is getting pinged. They're irritated about something. But either way, that is a very, very snipeable commander right there. Even with these Myrmidons that are out in front, like the Myrmidons are not far enough out in front before the strats get their payloads off. Is the problem there? I mean, again, that's another little lesson. If you're gonna start dropping T3 air, definitely drop some in your main base, but you also want to get like kind of a little perimeter as well, so that you can start whittling down strats, or you can assist your ASFs whenever they're going into air engagements. Like SAMs, if you have enough SAMs, they will tip the scales of an air engagement. As we now see sniper bots being brought to bear from Eshion. Whittling away at this T1 army that Chaotic Martini spent so long putting in the shaker, shaking it up, pouring it into the glass. This kind of looks like a glass, sort of. Martini glass, if you will. And either way, the Martini is getting absolutely demolished by Eshion there. And not really in a very chaotic fashion, as Engineers now on a mass migration. That is going to be the largest amount of civilian casualties that I've seen in a long time in this game on a cast. And I don't think they even had any orders. I think their order was go out there, look pretty, and get destroyed. Which feels bad. Poor Engineers. Okay, so they did have reclaim orders. But I think, yeah, there were 12 or so Engineers that got sent out there, and they got all of 100 reclaim. Nice. I'm being very critical of this game, I'm realizing. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's I was just, I had like, so right before this cast, Willow's Duality and I, oh, actually, pause that. We do have a strat. Strats are getting positioned right now. So this might be that snipe that I was talking about earlier, although I don't think 7 is enough. I think you need 10 10, maybe 11. So you gotta get through a shield, and then you got to do 13,000 points of damage, and you're only gonna get one pass, I think. Although I don't know, he's on the edge of the map, might be able to get a second pass. I think if I was going for that though, I would feel better if I had 10 to 12 strats, and I would just shut down ASF production. So there's number 8. Shocker. Okay, so sweet. He did shut all these down. So these are all ASF, or these are all strats, the exception of his HQ, which is still making ASF, which is fine. But he has gone heavy into strat bombers, which is good to see. Good to see. As we now have an experimental push coming in from Null Point as well as Solid Snake. They're going to run into a larger group of experimentals that have just really been put on defense there for team number 2. 2 Monkey Lords, 2 GCs. Thoda and GC is not going to be able to cut the cheese there, my friends. That is going to be a lot of mass there, potentially donated to the person building the Scathus, which the Scathus is now complete. Okay. This might be over at this point. We do have a lot of strats, so snipeable maybe, but team number 1 need to get their shields up. All right, so what have we got here? We've got 5, 8, 12, 14 strats. These ASF need to be cleared out, therefore. Oh no, the Shocker's not in a good position. He's gonna lose a lot of them. Does he even know where things are? So he does know where things are. I don't know why he decided to go way on the outside of the map. I think it would have been better to just commit it, go straight in. Strats are going to come in. Shield is going to drop, but not going to be enough to take out the Scathus. Meanwhile, Solid Snake base is getting torn apart. Started an emissary, but there's no way that gets finished. I think they actually just decide to bow out here as Solid Snake bows out. Null Pointer right behind him. Even a strat out for from Nom AD. And I think this game's over. We'll leave it zoomed out as players bow out. But what I was starting to say is, before this cast, I actually had about an hour-long conversation with Willow. And if you guys haven't heard of Willow or know about Willow, Willow's Duality is another caster for Forge Alliance Forever. He does a lot of other really good content. Like he had a Pokemon video that was fucking hilarious. But he does a lot of Forge Alliance Forever content and casts. And he and I were talking, and it's really nice to have like I think somebody else who can kind of like, you know, vent any frustrations like with the channel with. And I'm being perfectly candid with you guys, but he said a couple of things that I think were really good, in that I've been feeling like just a little bit kind of down on myself lately as far as like the channel, which is why my content has kind of suffered. I have been like exceedingly busy outside of YouTube land. But one thing that Willow said that I think is just really good life advice for anybody that I wanted to pass on to y'all is that if you're feeling like you're in a rut, you don't have a motivation issue, you have a discipline issue, which I think is really good life advice. Because if you've decided that you want to be really good and you want to be very successful at something, like I want to be successful at YouTube, Willow wants to be successful at YouTube. If we've decided that and we're not feeling super motivated, it's not a motivation thing, because we've already made the decision that we want to be good at this. It's a discipline thing. It's about us sitting down, hitting record. And I think that can translate to just about anything in life. So as the cast closes out, Scathus finishes out, I wanted to leave y'all with a nugget of wisdom from a fellow FAF caster of mine. I'll link his channel down below. If y'all are not subscribed to him, please give his videos a look. They're really good. But anyway, that's about it from me, everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, do the YouTube hokey pokey. throw salt over your shoulder, spit 3 times towards the north, and then next time you're taking a piss, make sure that you, I don't know, cross your legs and then balance on one foot. And that is what the YouTube algorithm likes. So for those of y'all that have stayed for this long, thank you guys so much. I will see you in the next one. Peace.